Did you ever notice how the loudest work is rarely the best? How frantic motion, desperate, scattered, rushed, breaks more than it builds. There's a force older than ambition, quieter than panic, that steadies the hand and sharpens the eye. It doesn't shout. It doesn't race. It simply remains. The ancients called it quiet discipline, the power to slow down when everything screams to speed up. Ignore it, and small errors become great losses. Wood wasted, patron angered, reputation spoiled. Embrace it, and the work grows truthful. Tonight, you'll hear how one restless carver learned to trade anxious motion for gentle focus, and why that exchange rescued both a church and a man from collapse. In the year 1462, frost traced the leaded panes of a cold workshop beside a half-built nave. Winter wind boomed through unfinished stone. Inside the carpenter's bay, Simon drove a gouge into green oak, pushing hard for speed. The blade bit against the grain, sharp, violent, wrong. A star-shaped split tore through the curve of a lily. He hissed and pressed harder. Another crack followed. Master Aldrich stepped quietly from the shadows, gray-caped and watchful. Without a word, he set 2 fingers on Simon's wrist. The workshop fell still but for the distant bell tolling in the cloister. "Noise is not progress," Aldrich said softly. "Quiet your hands. We must finish before Michaelmas," Simon muttered, jaw tight. "The abbot said the timber gift depends on these choir stalls." "The timber depends on truth," Aldrich replied. He took the gouge from Simon's trembling grip and stropped it slowly against leather until the edge whispered. Then he turned the oak to catch the light, and waited. 3 long breaths. Only then did he let the blade fall with its own weight. The cut sang. The grain agreed. He dabbed hide glue into the split and bound it gently with linen. "Quiet discipline is strength under command," he said. "The wood remembers every hurry." Simon swallowed the heat rising in his chest. He had been a worker of many motions, few decisions. Aldrich's stillness felt like a wall he could finally lean on. "How do I learn that?" Simon asked. "By keeping a rule stronger than your fear." Aldrich placed a small rule mark across the board. 1 motif per hour. No more. Sharpen before you carve. Listen before you strike. Simon nodded, hands still aching with the urge to race. The wind pressed against the shutters. The bells counted time that would not be rushed. He lifted the gouge, breath hitching, then lowered it slowly, as if laying down a quarrel. He set the gouge down. Aldrich inclined his head, as though a gate had just been closed against a storm. "Begin with keeping," he said. "We will keep the hours, and the hours will keep us." Before prime, they sharpened in silence. Aldrich showed him the strokes, heel to tip, even as the line of a psalm, and made Simon test each edge on scraps of pine until the incised groove shone smooth, without fuzz or tear. Between prime and terse, they marked the pattern lightly with charcoal, leaves measured by thumb widths, beasts nested in geometry older than memory. When the bell rang, they stepped back. No extra flourish. No bargain with impatience. Between terse and sext, Simon carved no more than 1 panel. If his shoulders tightened, he paused to hear the nave breathe, long pulls of cold air through timber ribs. After sext, they swept the shavings into neat piles, counted the good cuts, and named the errors without judgment. Aldrich forbade muttered curses. "A noisy heart," he said, smiling like a man who had buried many storms, "dulls the edge faster than any stone." Days gathered like orderly piles of oak curls. The cracks ceased. The lilies seemed to lift their carved faces toward the chancel. The robes of saints took on depth beneath candlelight and shadow. Once, the abbot passed through, nodded, and left them to their rule. Simon noticed his own thoughts turning. Not toward finish, but toward listen. He breathed with the bell. He felt the gouge settle into the rhythm the wood had been offering from the first. Patient, forgiving, true. When the last stall slid into place, the nave received it with a hush deeper than any spoken praise. Aldrich placed Simon's hand on the armrest he had carved. "Gentle focus," he said, "is strength without bruise." Simon looked down the row of patient carvings and felt the noise inside him fall like snow. Soft, complete, holy. The work had not simply been finished. It had been kept. From this story we learn that the power of quiet discipline guides a restless man into gentle focus, turning hurried effort into steady, truthful work. When we submit to rhythm instead of racing against it, our labor becomes something more than product. It becomes truth. And truth, once carved with care, endures longer than any haste ever could.